Hi friends, I hope lunch was good. Great. My name's Lenine Bourke, and before I start I just also want to pay my respects to the sovereign owners of the land of which we are standing on today, and pay my respects to Uncle Larry and Auntie Carolyn for their incredibly warm welcome to country. We had excessive conversation about whether the Bureau of Meteorology's 80% rain forecast was going to happen or not, and guided by Uncle Larry and his partner, I think her name was Vic, I was introduced to her today as well. She said, just listen to him, and he said, we're doing it out here, so that's what we went with. It was actually really beautiful, and it was really nice to have my daughter with me for that moment as well. I usually live in Brisbane on Turrbal and Jagera country, which was also where I was born, and it's really great to be here in Melbourne with you. I acknowledge all the First Peoples who are gathered here at Artsfront, and also all of our First Nations friends from around the Pacific and internationally who also join us as well. So as I said, I'm Lenine. I'm one of the people who helped put Artsfront together. But I just wanted to, before I even do that, was just to say that I am of Irish, Scottish, English and German descent. My family's first connection to Australia was via a 13-year-old girl who came from Ireland by boat. She had 2 coins and a coat. I mean, I'm assuming she did have some other clothes, but that's the story. And this information was literally passed on to me by my extended relatives, literally as a story, with an impossible circumstance to ever find her name. So I'm sure there's many of us acknowledging things going on in our country at the moment, and many of those personal stories and political stories will weave through the next 3 days. So we made it to Artsfront. Congratulations to all those people who made it through the weather and whatever degrees of temperature. You know, Melbourne was surviving 34. Poor Sydney had to cope with 26 last night, but everyone made it. And all the planes who circled for hours in the air, we made it. I also acknowledge all the people who are listening online and who will be part of our online community, and whether they are sitting together or sitting far apart, we are all connected now. I know, I'm really happy about that. So I wrote some notes this morning because I actually woke up having had a dream that I was in some sort of German sauna type, it sounds better than it was pretty good, a German type cabin thing, and I had a headset on, you know, one of those skin-coloured, which is a terrible thing to call it because it never is anybody's skin, a sort of a pale-ish microphone here, and I was walking around, and as I kept doing this introductory speech, I went into another room and discovered there were more delegates sitting there that hadn't heard the first part of the speech, and another room, and another room, and another room, and then weirdly a colleague of mine from, and you will all know her, Lydia Miller from the Australia Council was sitting in the front row just sort of nodding at me. I was like, okay, I'm waking up, Lydia, I'm getting my notes together. So I quickly got up at 5 o'clock and I penned this. So we made it. I literally wrote that multiple times. To contextualise this 3-day meeting, our friends Sarah and Norm from Feral Art said to me, you know that quote, we meet on the shoulders of giants, and I thought I better actually look that up. And apart from Isaac Newton, a whole bunch of other people used it. And they talked about this idea of actually being able to see further by standing on the shoulders of other people. And that by discovering or creating truth, we build on previous discoveries or previous creations. And to acknowledge some friends and colleagues that work in our community, Silvano and Ben and others who've worked in Warburton, WA. When I was there a number of years ago, someone said to me, you know, our job is to create longer horizons for people. So when you stand up higher, you can see longer horizons. I thought that was actually a really beautiful way to think about how this meeting happens. We are planning a horizon that should be very, very long, but we're only just even going to look 14 years in advance to 2030. This meeting is hosted within a context of many meetings, of many giants who've come before us and will come after us, of many artists, cultural leaders, thinkers and people who over many, many decades, and perhaps some might say centuries, or perhaps even in this country back 60,000 years. Within the context of that, this meeting is the chance to pick up previously put down ideas, to reconnect those ideas that somehow got disconnected, to generate new ideas, to problems long felt and to imagine ways that we would like to move forward. There is a long, embedded past that meets us today. One of culture, art, politics, community, economics, health, and I could go on and on explaining all of the ways that artists influence our place in the world, but you already know this. Then, on and off, over the last 50 years or so, there have been some specific struggles for the arts, wins and losses. Then about 18 months ago, as a national arts sector, we saw what had been previous attacks on very specific groups of artists become an attack on almost all artists. Then, this year, in 2016, and even more recently, we have seen the world tilt on its axis and try to drag us into the darkest parts of humanity. And still people are fighting and singing and making their voices heard in this country and many others. And now today we meet for what will be the next 3 days together. And as this guy, I had to Google him again because I couldn't remember who he'd said it, Peter Drucker once said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." So you can have all the plans in the world, but if you don't have a good working culture, the strategy's not going to live anyway. The proposal, when first pitched around Arts Front, was to put a small group of people in a room. As you can see, that idea didn't go very far. We needed a lot of people in the room, and we needed a lot more people in rooms all around the country. This next 3 days is about us working together to develop a shared vision for culture and arts in 2030. Not agreeing on consensus, but deciding with this group of people in this room some of the things we plan to work towards. To work together to build an even stronger national network of collaborators and to work together to plan joint campaigns and projects. Arts Front is a 4-year project instigated by Feral Arts, and this 3-day gathering is the major starting point. But over the 9 months into lead up to this moment, artists have been talking and planning around the country about what they wanted to bring here. One of the things, sorry, let me just check that I'm saying the right thing here. This book got a bit weird a couple of hours ago. When I had to write down a lot of housekeeping, we'll get to the housekeeping. So one of the things that a group of us, people who were calling ourselves kind of the steering committees for this project, decided to do was to plan this event as though some new ideas were possible or some ideas that we'd been thinking about and wanted to test out were possible. So these are just some of the characteristics of Arts Front. There are many, many more, but I would literally be here for a really long time. So one of those was a First Peoples Self-Determining Steering Committee was developed, and programming today and throughout the Arts Front has been led by that group. There is an online community component which is being held for the course of the next 3 days, where we will have sessions when we're all in here that are live streamed online. We'll also have in breakout rooms a suite of Google Hangouts where there'll be laptops. So if you notice those kind of things happening and you notice maybe there's some people online and no one's supporting them, just get involved there or talk to one of the organisers about that. We've got Scotia sitting up the back. Scotia, do you want to just wave to everyone? Hello. We've also got Bong, also standing up the back there. Bong, do you want to just wave as well? If there's also a whole suite of online social media processes, and Elliot is also up the back there. So if there are 3 people that you would like to know a little bit more about how the online community is working or how you could support the online community to participate in our face-to-face work, please go and chat with those 3. We also thought that seeing a range of us are parents that actually, when I first started in the arts, you couldn't run a workshop without a childminding space, and then something weird happened in the 90s and the early 2000s, and we forgot that people have children. So it was amazing to see Uncle Larry's daughter participate in that, and then to have some of the children who are here. So we have a woman called Hannah who is outside, Hannah Jenkin. Weirdly, I've known her since I was a teenager. She's running a childminding program. So if any people do have children here that are weirdly hidden, we haven't known where they are, or that it just happened. Ours were playing in the car yesterday because they were so cold, Queenslanders. Or you would like to bring your children tomorrow, please come and see me, or we can talk to Hannah tomorrow as well. We also will have another artist, Harriet, who'll be doing some consideration around future visioning for children in this process. We've had a massive support team working across a range of things. We will have this support team working across a range of breakout groups, sessions to make sure that everyone's feeling supported. If you were sitting at the big table this morning as part of that briefing, could you just put your hands up so people know who you are? And there's a few others who, if you received an email from me or Sarah and Norm that said, can you please help provide support this week, could you just add your hands to that list as well? So there's a lot of us, yeah? So pretty much someone in almost every row. We are, and I'm using this term, very large collection of we's. I think the first email I saw about this had 87 names on it or something. That we didn't want to charge a fee to attend a conference that many people couldn't afford to get to. Instead, the very humble grant received by Feral Arts and then the additional support that was for the First People Steering Committee was used to support people, particularly independent artists, but those that needed travel subsidy to get here from around the country. And to me, that's actually a significant shift away from working meetings where particularly independent artists can actually physically never afford to get there. Yeah, I think it's amazing, actually. And it still doesn't cover all of the costs, but it just goes a little bit of a way to make sure people can actually get here. That it's an equitable event. We also have on the back of this document, you'll see here things about our access program and the considerations with the support of various advisors on that, including Veronica Pardo, and that there'll be Auslan interpreters at different times, live captioning at different times. And if anybody else has any particular access needs that they haven't spoken to anybody about but would like to raise that, then our three folks who are at our registration desk are people that you can talk to today when you leave, and we'll have a little break to make sure that over the 3 days everybody's access needs are supported. So we're also here in a community arts centre, and I was just briefed this morning that basically next to our registration desk is a reception desk, and that today Iggy was working there and other staff will work there over the course of the week. If there are any first aid emergencies, like poor Sue Giles, I encountered her recently at another event where she'd, had an incident on her eyebrow, and we were sort of going, where do we go? Is it good? Okay, great, Sue. Yes, I love it. It's beautiful. But we were literally standing there going, where do we go about this major bleeding forehead? Where do we go? Where do we go? And I saw a guy with a sort of a mini truck van thing. I was like, where do we go? He was like, in there. So we're telling you now, if you hurt yourselves, you need to go to the reception, and they are all first aid officers. And if there's any kind of emergency in the building, roughly 5 people will appear with hats, and they're going to yell at us to go in various locations, and we're just going to go outside, will be the sensible thing. To the car park, Anne. That's where we're going to go, the car park next to the cafe. But I've just been advised, follow the hats. So the other thing is the Footscray Community Arts Centre is a working community arts centre, which meant that this morning there was a music and bubs program. There's also the Art and Life studio running every day. Over the course of this week, there's a range of other companies that are in this building. The general public will come here and programs will be on. That was part of one of the appeal of doing Arts Front here. You can trust that the staff have everything covered. As a room full of organisers, we tend to get involved in everything else. We don't need to get involved. They have it all okay. And also that the facilities are shared on all the different floors. So there's bathrooms here. There's also bathrooms downstairs in the basement foyer area as well. And there's bathrooms up in the main area if this area here gets congested. So Robin, Caitlin and Josephine are at registration. If you haven't seen them already, it would be a good idea to do that. So that's the kind of the end of the considerations for how we wanted Arts Front to be and how we ended up here. There are a few more housekeeping things, and I'll get to those in a minute. But one of the things that we are going to do shortly is actually just introduce ourselves as a room. It will take a little bit of time, and it kind of seems laborious when we're starting, but whenever we don't do this, and there are also the First Peoples group are also still meeting in the basement theatre, and at some point we may have some other introductions happen later this afternoon as well. But that when people don't do it, there's always someone in the room who you wished you'd met because you saw them online and you had never clocked who they were. So we will do that process. Then I'm going to hand over to Anne Dunn, who will co-facilitate the afternoon sessions after that, and then we'll regroup back here after our afternoon break, where I will facilitate again some open plan brainstorming, as I like to call it, in preparation for what our big day is going to look like tomorrow. And then I think the bar opens. So a couple of things. There's a bunch of, I've seen Sudeep, and maybe there's another photographer, and people are taking sort of photographs for the Arts Front group. If you are not interested in having your photo taken, please go and see our registration desk, and they'll give you a way to opt out of that process. When you are in your group sessions, timekeeping is really essential. So if we are doing a little bit, if we're really sorry, we've got to wrap that up and move it on. It's particularly about the live streaming that's happening because it's been timed at set times, and also the captioning. This is a self-organising event. So the brainstorming this afternoon in planning for tomorrow and using open space to crack open the conversations we want to use mean that you get to self-organise how this works. So if there are particular things you would like to happen that aren't happening, come talk to one of us. If there are just, you need a quiet minute and it's not 85% chance rain, just take yourself outside and do what you need to do. I mean, we're all together for these 3 days, but the 3 days have to work for you in terms of your specific purpose and why you decided to come to Arts Front as well. So we really encourage people to run with that ethos rather than at the end of the 3 days think, I have no idea what happened. Just ask us the question, or, well, it really didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Start making those decisions for yourselves early on. This event is ours, and as Jade said, it'll be as extraordinary as we plan it to be over the next 3 days. People got little books when you arrived. Has everyone got these little books? So you can draw on those, do whatever you want on them, and you can photograph them and then reload them up on any social media with the hashtag #JustArtsFront. Other people will be doing it as well, but also just any photographs. Obviously, if I might find out what the photo opt-out process is, because if you just started getting photo happy in your breakout group and someone was opt-out for photos and then they ended up on social media, we'll have to work that out. But I might update you this afternoon about what that process is. Sometimes people just put a sticker on their shirt if they don't want to be in photos. That's kind of an easy way to do it. Note-taking for the sessions. There's a bunch of ways that people can take notes from tomorrow onwards. We don't need to do that for today. And built into the Arts Front website is a really simple just comments box that people can just drop comments into or content from their group. And rather than like, oh, we wrote a 14-page manifesto and I'll email it to you at some time, it's actually easy to just kind of write it straight in. There's Wi-Fi in the building and people are able to access the password at reception. Media protocols. So there are some, like the photography, there are also some journalists here. So I don't know if any of them are here. I think if anyone's here, I saw Ben walk in. Hi, Ben. Anyone else? Oh, someone over here. Hello. Sorry, we haven't met yet. I'm Lenine. Hi, how are you? And then, oh, some more people here. Hi. How are you guys? So there might be other people that come over the next couple of days as well, and basically what will happen is in the breakout sessions, if people are deciding there's stuff that you want to talk about that you just want to keep private, and there are some of our fabulous arts journalists in the room, you can also just be like, hey, you know, all the things off the record, Chatham House rules, cone of silence, like whatever you want to say, just be like, don't write about me, yeah? And you know, if Elliot's there or other people are doing online stuff as well. I mean, stuff's just, we want the stuff that we're talking about to make it outside of this room. That's why we've invited people to be here. But if there are very particularly sensitive things that you happen to be talking about, very personal things, just feel free to make that call if you need to. So, anything else from anyone else? I'm so happy I got through that without my daughter coming in with some situation I needed to go to. That was awesome. Woo, okay. Thank God for Netflix. So, I mean, you know, we do good parenting too, but in moments like this, you just do Netflix. All you parents know, don't even pretend. Okay, so we need maybe some sort of portable microphone that we can pass around. Do we have one of those? Yeah? Okay, thank you. So while we're working that out, the deal is pretty much your name or what you like to be called, where you work from, so Jagera Turrbal Country in Brisbane, and because we've got this many people, we just need, you know, the shortest byline humanly possible. Independent. I mean, no, I'm joking. You can say what you like, but we don't need the full CV. That's the plan. If someone's heading into full CV, I'm just going to say